Well, aloha everybody. Good morning on this beautiful Thursday morning, 7/5/18. So we're doing a live update for this week. Been very busy in the field and doing other stuff around for the hub and all that kind of stuff, but we'll be doing a live lava update of what's happening in the eruption area. And there's some big changes that is happening right now. The changes are we've been seeing a lot of changes near the ocean entry and on the lava rivers that is headed to the ocean entry right around Four Corners. So we would love to talk about that today. But with me today we have Philip and Brother John. On my end, from the ocean side, ocean entry, there was the ocean entry is moving north now. So the ocean entry there's a new ocean entry area which is north of where it was yesterday, towards the Kumukahi Point, and tons of lava that is entering that area. A lot of new, fishes, a bunch of fish, marine life has been destroyed in that area. A lot of fishes were noticed to be deceased this morning in the ocean. Also a new heavy spot, which is almost nearby where University Pond was located. So there's tons of lava entering that way, and also from the ocean, the subdivision, what is left of Beach Lot subdivision, has been sadly overtaken by lava. In the last 24 to 36 hours, they're looking at maybe 15 to 18 homes being taken in that area. This morning there was only 4 homes left. By now, just the activity that is happening there, pretty much sure that those homes will be taken also today. And then we'll give you an explanation of why the lava is moving that way. So also Fisher 8 is still very much active, hasn't lost any volume, still pushing a high rate of volume down into the ocean entry and into the channelized flows. There is no breaches from Fisher 8 down to Green Mountain area, but after Green Mountain there's a bunch of changes that is happening. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to John and Phil.
Aloha guys, how's everybody today? As we've heard that by this morning they're probably all gone.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the sad news for the day. The questions that everyone's been putting towards me have been about the big breakout by Four Corners area.
Right.
So we're gonna maybe talk about that. I'm trying to study some pictures here. So maybe start off with John and I did a flight on Sunday and took this picture of that area.
Let me see if I can get that glare to go down a little bit. Right there.
All right. So yeah, you can see the channel is all still intact. This is a before picture, but right up here we're starting to see a little bit of a breakout or a spillover, or I'm not sure exactly. There's kind of a little bay here, right? So it's almost like there's more lava coming in. It's able to fill that shallow area, and then it seems like from here it must have jumped out in that direction to the north, like to the background of the picture.
Right.
So then let me go
so
back.
that was, what day was it?
Sunday. Right, and then the next picture is this one. No, this one. Yeah, yeah, right there. Yeah, okay. This one this morning that was sent to Ikaika by another helicopter pilot. Right. So by this point we see a really interesting feature, which is this spot right here. Right, that lava is coming out. Right, it's kind of hard to see with the glare. Here, from my angle now. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like that, like to me, like the main channel probably went over here where this thing is, and actually turned down this way like that.
That was the main channel.
Yeah. So since then, that one spot we showed you guys overflowing more over here on this side over here, it must have spilled over, and now it's going a little more to the north, right? And look, the whole volume of the channel, almost all the volume of the channel is over here. flowing. Right, this part's probably a little shallower than it was over here, right?
So can we go back to the
one before?
Yeah.
Sorry, they're out of order.
So,
and from a different angle, if that
this
anybody, but.
this overflow right here is the one that kind of made the new channel.
Looks
Yeah,
like
right?
it.
Yeah, so, there it goes, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that little finger right there is the one that made the new channel.
Although, you know, looking at the thing now, it might actually be more an area over here, yeah. So it's kind of hard to say. Like, it could be that this is where it started. Kind of the whole extra lava is filling in this bay right here, right? And it could be that from here it kind of spills over, maybe more at this downhill end right here.
And then it hooks around.
Yeah.
So,
So
if
then
you go back to the other.
so now it
photo,
goes down over this way like this,
Way
and now it's
outside.
pouring in like to the side this way, right? So yeah, let me go back to the other one. And, oh, wrong way. There it is.
So right here, this was the river before, and when it spilled out on the north side, created a new river, and then it's made a hook, and then poured back into where the river
Yeah.
was.
So that's a real rapids fall right there, area right there, yeah. But then there's another picture that we got, yeah, that was from, I believe, McCalber. Or is it from
Bruce
Bruce? From Bruce Amori, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in this photo, you can see up here is the new main channel, right? And here's that same area. There's what's spilling over, and now the thing is actually spilling over more to the east, all the way to here, all the way down here. There's the edge of the flow, all the way to there, right? And actually, if we back up the flow, we can see all the way to here. There's burning all the way over here, right? So there's a branch of this thing that comes all the way off from up here.
So let me point out, guys. So this is the original lava river. So you could imagine this right here and this was connected. Because of that overflow that went to the north and created a new river, because somewhat there was a clog or something happened in this area, or maybe just high volume, a lot of volume.
We did see seeping in that same area, yeah. So
Yeah,
it could be that the whole edge of the thing moved and allowed it to migrate a little bit, yeah.
Which
So-
might have been right in this area.
Right. Well, so
That's
we know
where
the whole thing
seep
was fluid, pretty thick all the way down. Is what it tells me, right?
So from point A to point B, this was the main river. So it overspilled and created a new river, and now this one is going on the east end of the original river. So that it's going on the east end, and it's actually pouring into the original river. But it's also, because there's no levees on this side or walls, it's pushing lava down towards the subdivision.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's unfortunate that most of those homes and beach lots already burned down, but that's kind of where the flow would most likely go from this edge of the breakout over here. So at least there's no one in a way anymore. You know, those ones that were in a way or have already been taken, unfortunately. So.
But this is a really good example of what, there's a number of things that have happened in that location in the past few days, but the ultimate outcome is that the river found a whole new course around the corner right there. And that's the type of thing in a wrong spot that could send the whole flow in a new direction. And this might be sending the end of the flow to a new direction across the 1960 lava flows.
Yeah, it's true.
If it continues. So.
Yeah, and especially if this other, like this northern edge of it actually starts picking up more volume, then it could cause more problems by starting to flow farther away from the flow field that we have now. And if it's on top of the 1960 flow field, it's mostly okay. I know that there's some significant sites in there, like the graveyard.
Another thing to think about too, if you guys look at this corner right here, that is Highway 132 or Old Government Road. So that this was the last the beginning of the road right there. And just to give you an idea where it's at, so Four Corners will be right around in this area right here. So as far as these new flows over here, it could travel that way.
Yeah, and
Really quick.
Yeah. And where's the other picture you sent me? This one right here, right? So this is kind of a view looking back up the river, yeah?
Yeah.
Is it the right angle?
Yeah.
So you can see it. The flow edge is all the way over here burning, right? So that there is a large amount of volume coming out of that breach, and it's kind of spreading out.
Yeah.
And it's a big question now which way that'll go, if it'll take the channel. But
as you can see in these pictures, there's probably only 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 homes. 4 homes, 1 structure still intact, but you can see how close the lava is pretty much
Oh, right, yeah,
pushing that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then a new breakout would be up here, kind of. We'll probably go towards this low area in here, we think, but we'll show you guys some of the maps that have been shared with us. But before that, there's one other part of that picture I want to show you guys. If we go back to the first one we have in the sequence, right? We can see that we don't really see any bays or any like all these ledges on the side are all full of lava, like these kind of arcs right on the side, almost like little bays. And if we go to that picture this one already. From this morning, you can see that these little areas of bays seem to be drained,
Empty. Yeah.
Empty, right? So already in this photo, we can see that the original channel seems to be getting less amount of lava in it, so it's starting to drain more where the level is dropping and those things are getting exposed.
right.
So that's another warning sign to us that a lot of lava isn't making it to there, even though some is leaking out this little leak of, maybe a lava tube from the old channel, right? It's still not taking as much lava as is being diverted around to the side, right? So that's very concerning, of course, because we all know how much lava has been coming out of Fissure 8, right? And if it can all go a different direction, then it can change the game entirely, right? So, I mean, unfortunately, this is one of those changes that may throw off the whole equilibrium and stability that we've reached in recent times, So, fortunately, it's just from that corner down, it's not happening up anywhere near the fissure, which would be a much less predictable kind of thing.
It's near the delta at the ocean where there isn't a lot of structures nearby, but you just got to understand the importance of the Fissure 8 flow changes direction.
Yeah.
We're talking about just an immense amount of lava changing direction.
For sure,
And so this process is what we need to be watching. Yeah.
And the most likely place these things happen are at the sharpest bends in the river.
Yeah.
Right, which is why I've been worried about the elbow
And
within
we have
Leilani
a few
for so long,
elbows
right?
there.
This one was probably the most dramatic one, the sharpest turn the thing made, right? So it's not that big a surprise to me.
Here's another thing too that
right
we
there.
gotta, we've been watching also with this. If this thing get clogged back, I mean everything uprift will be kind of we'll be concerned about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if the lava can't drain out as easily as it was before, because now it's not coming out, it can't flow straight into the ocean, right, through this big system, then it could back up a little bit, right, and it could spill over farther up the banks. That's something that could happen.
Yeah,
right?
because we've already been discussing how the rate at which it's dispersing at the bottom of the flow, it might be affecting the upper part of the flow.
Right.
So there's a dynamic there.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So this could be the beginning of a much larger story about the Fissure 8 flow changing its course, or it might stay just from the Four Corners area lower.
We'll see in the next, what's going to entail in the next couple days.
Next couple days, probably, yeah. The next day will tell us a lot.
Because as of right now, we've seen changes at the ocean entry.
Right.
And the ocean entry is changing dramatically on the placement of where the lava is entering the ocean. So it's not technically down the center of it. It's more moving north.
Here's a video you sent me,
So this video of us on the boat, if you see this major flow here, everything has changed over. If you look at all of our videos from earlier, everything has changed over. Like 50 yards, 100 yards over to the north. So
there.
Yeah. So the major heavy area was here. And now, as you can see, the major heavy area is here. So it's moving drastically to the north. So, Lighthouse or Kumukahi Lighthouse will be in danger right now. I mean, of being covered soon.
That's, Lighthouse is kind of the emblem. It's still standing, so hopefully it doesn't work its way all the way out to that area.
Right, so focusing on this area still, I mean, it's important. So if the river starts backing farther up, then it's possible that the banks may become less stable because of that, right? Maybe you can talk about a little bit of what the river is like now.
Okay.
And then we can look after that at some of the topography of where this thing might actually
go.
Yeah.
I don't have any new pictures, but I may or may not have seen the lava river recently at some place that may or may not be near the lava river. But comparing it to earlier views, it is just amazing how much that channel changes while we say no major changes. It's evolving every day, and so I could notice what was at one time about a 3 foot, less than a meter rim on the edges of the channel was now more than 6 or 8 feet in the same exact place. And it was obvious it was mostly the small overpouring building up, but the river is still raging, so there's a give and take, this puzzle that we've been working on all along. How much is it cutting deeper and tearing off the banks of the channel, making more space, and how much is it building up? And it's almost certainly doing both, but we could almost not see the same channel because the rim had built up more than 6 feet higher than it was last time. It may or may not have been viewed from up close.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a feature that developed in the river, a very large like reservoir, like lake area, very round and full of lava with crusts moving around on it, just like a lava lake.
Right.
And that developed after the channel formed. It became a large pool, and then it drains. And so that pool was very full to the brim. We were able to watch some of the crust collapsing off the edge of it as the level came up higher. And that's a very scary moment when the crust falls in. It makes a big splash, and I watched the waves travel upstream through the lava river. And Phil and I were talking, that's one thing that might be an indication that these pools, those reservoirs along the channel of lava might actually be very deep, or at least deep enough that the wave can move through it like a lake. If it was very shallow river, which, you know, the lava might only be a few feet deep in some places, flowing really fast, but if it were that shallow, a wave from something falling in would be canceled out by the current really quickly. And these waves were just as if they were in a pond, you know, they went all the way across. So that to me says that it's at least deep enough that those waves are not influenced by the bottom. So the river overall seemed very much more full to the brim in certain areas, and then other areas, because of the rapids and the overpouring, it was built up so it had more than 6 feet of space. But you can't underestimate the power of that river. It's so scary because you're prancing across hollow, shelly Pahoehoe, and the thought of how powerful the lava is. So with these maps, we're talking about the lava finding a course as if it were water, and lava is more like hydraulic fluid. It can move mountains. It can get under the edges of that river and lift up the crust and these seeps and things. So when it finds a way, the lava is so powerful, it can just heave the rock like we've been seeing on the lava delta. It moved immense areas of flat crust and just shifted them all around. And so that's the thing that can happen at any time around the river, and it's not always obvious what it's doing beneath the level of the lava. We can't see under there, it's just glowing red, but there's a lot going on within the river, and so you can't underestimate. All of that amounts to, in the USGS report, they said this morning the upper reservoirs near Fissure 8 were a lot lower than they've noticed them. And, you know, that could mean a lot of different things because other parts of the river lower down look a lot higher. And so the river has that dynamic where I've been noticing on the thermal image that sometimes it seems like it's storing lava and sometimes it's letting lava go through more easily. I don't think that's always change in volume from Fissure 8, but the river has a lot of intricacies that are hard to add up, and it's hard to get a sense if the volume is actually changing. But yeah, so I don't know how to summarize it other than it's very dynamic and changes every day, even if there are no major changes. Yeah.
All right. So switch the camera back around. So just
Calling.
yeah. So okay, sorry, someone just tried to call. Okay. Let's look at the topography now. Okay, so the first thing we might be tempted to look at is a USGS map. Here, let's see if I can make this so we can kind of see it there. So
yeah, let me know if I can.
I think it's okay like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So our breakout is happening right around this corner right over here, right? So it seems like maybe our jump is kind of going around like that, right? And you can see from the initial photographs, it's actually trying to go to the south. Now, if you try to look for any blue lines on this map, you'll see that there's a big lack of anything relevant anywhere where we need to know, right? So the resolution for this particular USGS images isn't good enough for what we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to a map made by Les Peterson.
No offense, USGS. We love you, USGS.
Yeah, no, if USGS had a map published, we might use it, but since Les has one published, we'll use his from Hawaii Tracker instead. All right, so the blue line is the same right here, right? And then the pink ones are the next kind of biggest ones. And what's happened is right over here is where the channel is burst around to the side. And if we look at the way that the pink line shows us, it's actually going to flow kind of along. Okay, so well, first thing I should say is this kind of peach color, that's the lava flow edge today, right? So all these blue lines that are underneath the lava flow probably influence how the flow began. But right now, all these lines are a little bit less relevant because the ground here has changed a lot, right? So what matters more is the lines at the edge of it and the outside. And the way I think of it is right along the edge of this peach color, there's another blue line that exists. It goes downhill along the edge of it, kind of right along, you know, kind of like that. Right? So all these other lines kind of feed into that one and then kind of go that way, right? Unless the flow is big enough to fill in that spot and get as tall as this lava flow, and then it kind of changes to how it actually exists today. So what's happening is from the original channel, which is more or less where the, you know, actually very close to where this blue line is right now. Hold on a second, another look, here we go. The thing is jumped over, and it's basically following more or less where the pink line is, and it's going to kind of stay along that edge right through there. And if it keeps going that way with all the bulk, it's basically going to go along the edge and go down this way. And you see everywhere it's kind of downhill into the flow all the way to maybe in here where it might actually cut across straight and leave a little island kind of maybe in here in this little area.
So are you assuming it'll stay along the edge of the existing flow pad or come across it?
I would say initially it's going to stay within that little edge of it.
Okay.
Right? But depending on how much lava comes up, you know, comes through there and how fast it goes,
right?
Then it potentially could do something we don't expect, right? So probably the most relevant thing as far as human terms of what's left around here is the cemetery, which is up here. You can kind of see it tag on the other side of this hill. And we might have a big concern because the flow is actually quite near there, you know, on the other side of the cinder cone. But you guys can see that all downhill direction, you know, the yellow lines, the purple line, the blue line, they all go downhill in this direction. So all this flow that's spilling over here is going to go away from this cinder cone, you know, across the road. It goes to the lighthouse and down towards the edge of the flow over here, right? So it kind of keeps wanting to go that way, away from the cemetery most of the time, right, over here. So if it breaks open on an uphill side of that cone, then that's different, right? Then that's where the cemetery becomes at risk. If it breaks open over here, then it can go around the top side of it. But for now, as far as I can tell, all the breakouts are right over here. Now it is dynamic, so we can see how it's going to change, right? So that's what we got. Okay, so as far as Papaya Farm Road, I think it's still okay over there. Here, let me give it back to you. Let me go back to maybe we'll go back to the USGS map, huh? Here, zoom out a little bit. And so Papaya Farms Road up over here, right? The breakout's actually down over here. Right, so
you got a mile away.
Yeah, so it's not, you know, to get to Papaya Farm Road area, it'd have to break out farther up, right?
Yeah.
And when John and I talked yesterday, it seems like the area that's showing the most fluctuation is down from there. So I'm not expecting a big change there, unless the effect kind of propagates up the river like we're talking about, as far as it's not draining fast enough, then the flow backs up and then it starts spilling over and then something else happens, you know. So
you might mention this part above there, upstream of where we're talking about, this narrow part of the river. Philip and I have started to pay more attention to because that's where the levees are quite small, but this is probably also one of the fastest, deepest parts of the river that's maintained a single channel the whole time.
Right.
And so there's kind of a big difference from here to there and below. So it's hard to say if it can actually back up and disturb this narrow part of the channel, because that one has, for whatever reason, stayed very narrow and very stable throughout this thing. It hasn't changed shape a lot, where the rest of the river channel has. So
yeah, that's absolutely right. You guys can see how skinny it is, and then right here where it flattens out, right next to the cinder pit lobe, there's like the first flatten out, and then it kind of goes down, and then it flattens out again below that. Right, so probably from here and up, yeah. And if you guys want, we can redo the. Let me go find the animated version of it. Yeah, I'll show you guys. Where is it here? Right, so let's let me get this so I can actually manipulate it the way I want. And
are you still the only person with the animated?
I've posted this one to YouTube actually.
Image?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's on YouTube. I put it. There's a link off of my Eruption lens page, and I think I've shared it off my account also, right? But
awesome, it's a great.
I'm not sure what their what detailer is, but it's okay. So let's go back to here's Green Mountain right there, and here's our first flow as it came through. All right, so let's see right up here. This is the cinder pit lobe right up there. I'm going backwards now. So you can see where it first fanned out up there, right? This first image, how it's fanned out right up here. And look, even at Four Corners, there's a fan out even then in that same area.
Right.
So then going forward, that kind of crusts over, it kind of stabilizes and kind of gets skinnier, right? Before the whole thing starts. Here's a seat that we were pointing out a couple of days ago, where we're thinking there was so much lava that was basically pushing under the edges of the channel, right? It was right in the area right over here, and in fact that's exactly right where this breakout has happened, pushing it around a corner this way. Right?
So presumably around that corner there's just more friction, more complication, more pressure as the lava makes that corner, right? So it's
right. And that's also where kind of fans out. It's been fanning out. So I think those things are linked.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the more area it has to spread out along.
But the previous fanning out has set the stage for more break in that same similar way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So that's our Four Corners update. As much as we know right now, we'll keep our eye on what's coming as far as aerial photographs and that kind of thing as much as we can. Yeah. And keep updating you guys. As soon as we know anything different, we'll
let everybody know.
We're sorry about the houses at beach lots, but now that those houses are gone, there's basically nothing left on there, that we're nothing left anymore.
Pretty much.
Right. So if beach lots wasn't gotten by the edge of this flow that just happened, it was probably going to get it from what's happening now. Unfortunately, the lava seems to be wanting to go fill in that whole area right there.
And you can see it in this picture too. So right here is Four Corners. The road is actually going down towards the lighthouse right here. If you can bend it back just a tad. Yeah. You can see the lava is just moving right across, going north and taking out everything that it possibly can.
Yeah, so from this view right here, then the channel jumped over basically right there. And it's probably going to flow down the edge of this thing this way like this. Yeah. Right through there. That's our best guess right now.
Yeah.
So that's most of the story today. And, as far as the summit, it's been mostly the same. We talked about the changes in the tilt meter, so there's not much happening there. Our GPS line does look like it's continuing to stay level, not level, but shallow. Let's say a lower rate of decrease. Here, let's show it to you guys. Okay, like right here at the edge, right? There's still a little noise in the data, but it seems like there's a clear changes. Looking clearer and clearer the more time goes by. So it may be that we have reached the some limit to the horizontal expansion of this thing. It's still going to be dropping down, as we talked about, just to remind everybody. So that's still just the one signal, right? We want to have multiple signals of the thing actually showing change.
Right, one line of evidence.
That's one line of evidence, and it's not enough to really jump to any conclusions, but it's the first, and we didn't even have the one before.
Right.
Right. So it's a starting point, right?
Something is apparently changing.
Right. So as far as the dropping, the downward dropping, hasn't changed, right? There's no change in that. It's basically stayed steady the whole time. Right. And the pattern of explosions, even though the plot looks drastically different because of the way that they're plotting the earthquake lines now, right? You guys notice like the lines only go up from this plot in the earlier days, and now they go down, and supposedly down and up. Not as clearly in this photograph image, but maybe on this one you can kind of see they go up and down more.
They changed the.
So they changed, how it gets displayed or recorded, even, So, but there's nothing to be alarmed about that. The pattern is still basically the same.
And it looks like we're due for the next collapse explosion sometime later
now.
Today. Yeah.
Yeah, in the next several hours.
All right, gang.
Yeah.
That's our update for today. And thank you, Brother John.
Yep, you bet.
Thank you, Brother Phil.
Sure, guys.
Also, we got another friend of mine here hanging around. How's everything with the SO2 meters?
So far.
far so good. MIT's coming back and upgrading them, and hopefully getting better service down Kīlauea areas.
Yeah, so he's the one that's been putting up some SO2 meters around. So he's been trying to keeping us safe in our community. So he's a genius. He made up this air quality kind of to keep your air quality clean at home or your truck or something, and it's amazing.
It's an air scrubber.
Yeah, the air scrubber.
Air scrubber.
And he designed this air scrubber, and it's just makes my house like, I mean, clean as it can ever be. Even if somebody goes in the bathroom, it's clean. All right, guys. So that's our update for today. But everybody, we all say, stay classy, Puna. Aloha.